Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Tawheedosunnat.com. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Tawheedosunnat.com.
الحمد لله الذي هدى والصلاة والسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى خصوصا على سيد الرسل وخاتم الأنبياء وعلى آله وأصحابه الذين اجتبى. أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وما كان المؤمنون لينفروا كافة فلولا نفر من كل فرقة منهم طائفة ليتفقهوا في الدين ولينذروا قومهم إذا رجعوا إليهم لعلهم يحذرون. صدق الله العظيم. As we're talking about some great scholars of Islam who have offered great services for the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And there are many of them that are known by names, but their effort, their work, and their achievements are not normally known. And of course, as the time passes by, things are getting forgotten. And if we don't remind ourselves of those of our ancestors and know who they were, what type of work they had performed, then our future generations will be looking for players, singers, bodybuilders to follow because they don't know who their ancestors were. There are people with such a knowledge, such understanding of deen, that great muhaddiseen, great fuqaha, great mufassireen and mujaddideen would always trust those people for their knowledge and for following the ahkam of the Sharia of Islam. If you ask Imam Muslim rahimahullah, that you are such a great muhaddis, when you want to follow any of the orders of the Sharia, how do you determine what to do and how to do it? How do you determine the hukum and the ruling of it? If it is wajib, sunnah, mustahab, makruh, haram, how do you make these determinations? How do you follow the Sharia and the orders of the Sharia? Of course, a person like us would expect that Imam Muslim would say, don't you see my book? What a great book that I have written. Such a great book that people are disputing if this is more authentic than Bukhari or Bukhari is more authentic than Muslim. A well-known muhaddis. But surprisingly, the reply comes from Imam Muslim rahimahullah, that in spite of writing all of these hadiths and knowing much more than this, when a ruling of the Sharia comes up, I do not use my own understanding on it. I do not just have my own reasoning behind it. I always go to a person with the name Muhammad bin Idris, and I ask him the ruling and the fatwa about it. Whatever he tells me, I follow that. SubhanAllah. A person like Imam Muslim, he says, I always follow Muhammad bin Idris. And whenever an issue of the Sharia comes up, I may narrate the hadith to him, but whatever he tells me, I follow that. I trust his knowledge, and I trust his understanding of the hadith, that he has more and better understanding than I do. Although I memorize the wordings of it, but he has a better understanding than I do. Another person at the same time, of the same level of Imam Muslim, he's as great muhaddis as almost Imam Muslim. So we go and ask him, what do you do? And that is Imam Tirmizi rahimahullah. the author of Sunan al-Tirmidhi, one of the 6 authentic books of hadith. What do you do when a ruling of Sharia comes up? You are a student of Imam Bukhari, and such a student that Imam Bukhari used to say that I learned from Imam Tirmidhi more than what he have learned from me. He was a student. Imam Tirmidhi is a student of Imam Bukhari, but Imam Bukhari says, I learned from him more than what he has learned from me. So we ask him, what do you do when a ruling of Sharia comes up? When you want to do something about the ahkam of the Sharia? And his reply is the same. He says, I go and ask Muhammad bin Idris. Whatever Muhammad bin Idris tells me, I do that. I trust his knowledge. I trust his understanding. Then you go and ask Imam Suyuti rahimahullah, a person who's known that he has written books about every field of Sharia. And especially when it comes to ul-Qur'an Al-Quran. He is well known in that, because any book written on the sciences of Quran, they will always refer to Al-Itqan, which is written by Imam Jalaluddin As-Suyuti rahimahullah. Then his tafsir is well-known tafsir. On top of that, a person who did such a book of hadith, such a work of hadith, that he tried to collect all the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, of course did not succeed. And then a person followed up with that work who was originally from India, Imam Ali al-Muttaqi rahimahullah. And then Imam Suyuti's book was known as Jam' al-Jawami'. And Imam Ali al-Muttaqi, when he completed that work, he called it Kanz al-Ummar, that has more than 46,000 hadith in it. It still is not complete. So we ask Imam Suyuti, when a ruling of Sharia comes up, and you want to determine about something if it is allowed or not, what do you do? He says, I go to Muhammad bin Idris and I ask him the fatwa. SubhanAllah. Again, why don't you make your own determination? He says, no, I'm not of that level yet. I'm not of that level yet. I don't trust myself for that. I'm not on the level of ijtihad. You are not on the level of ijtihad? You wrote Al-Itqan, you wrote Jalalain, you wrote Jam' al-Jawami', and name the books in every field of Islamic sciences. There will be something written by Imam Suyuti. But he says, no, I'm not a Muslim. For that, I go to Muhammad bin Idris. Imam Bayhaqi, his book of hadith is well known, Sunan al-Bayhaqi. Imam Ibn Kathir, his book of tafsir is well known. Imam Nawawi, his work on the hadith. Imam Hafiz ibn Hajar rahimahullah, his work of hadith. Well-known scholars of Islam. You ask all of them, what do you do when a ruling of Sharia comes up? The same reply you are getting from all of these names that I have just mentioned, that we go back to Muhammad bin Idris. And we ask him his opinion. Whatever he tells us, we follow that. Today, me and you are following our understanding of the translation of the ayahs and the understanding of the translation of the hadith. Oh, I read a hadith. How many hadiths did you read, brother? And he may not be remembering it because, it was somewhere around 20, 30 hadiths that he may have read in his life. And he is a mujtahid. He is greater than all of those imams together. That tells us how low we are going with the understanding of our deen, that a person who reads few translations of few hadiths, doesn't even know the language itself, doesn't know the language that was spoken by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, cannot see what does it really mean. He's depending on some translators to tell him this is what it may mean, and then right after reading these translations, he would like to give a fatwa about the Sharia, and he would like to tell the Ummah that these things are halal and these things are haram, and he's coming up with list of things. And if he would just go back and look at what the scholars said about the very same ruling, all of them up to this day may have said that it was haram, but today this person is making it halal because of his understanding of that translation of one hadith. Either all of those people over the 1400 years were wrong, and we are the only correct people with the right understanding, with the best followers of the best followers of the deen, or it's vice versa, and we know what it is. And this really should give us some very straightforward direction in our life when we would like to come up with any decision regarding the Sharia of Islam. Anything about halal and haram. ولا تقولوا لما تصف ألسنتكم الكذب هذا حلال وهذا حرام لتفتروا على الله الكذب. Do not say about things that you just make up by your own words, that this is halal and this is haram, to fabricate lies against Allah. إن الذين يفترون على الله الكذب لا يفلحون. Those who fabricate lies against Allah will never succeed. This is lying against Allah when a person is saying this is halal, this is supposed to be halal. Oh, my understanding is that there is nothing wrong with it. Great understanding. So all of these scholars are saying, then we go back and we ask Muhammad bin Idris. Who is this Muhammad bin Idris? That all of these muhaddithin, like Imam Muslim, Imam Tirmidhi, Imam Ibn Majah, and many more, Imam Suyuti, and Mufassirin, like Suyuti and Imam Ibn Kathir, and like people like intellectual people like Imam Ghazali rahimahullah, all of them are saying when a ruling of Sharia comes up, we go and ask Muhammad bin Idris. Muhammad bin Idris was a person originally an Arab from Quraysh, born in a well-known place in Palestine called Gaza. He was born in Gaza in Palestine. He was still an infant when his father passed away and he became orphan. His mother was very wise and very knowledgeable woman. She had some high expectations from her son, and accordingly she started planning for the future of her life. When her son Muhammad bin Idris was only 2 years old, she took him from Palestine to Makkah Mukarramah, and she is stationed in Makkah only so that her son will be able, as he will grow up, he will grow up in that atmosphere, and then he will be able to learn the Qur'an and the Sunnah from the scholars that are around the Haram of Makkah Mukarramah. He will get his knowledge from around the scholars that are teaching the Hadith and Sharia around Ka'batullah. We made some determinations and some planning of our lives too. And here there is a woman that made a planning also for her children. And we can see the difference between the plannings. The single woman, the single mother, who has no one to support her, she leaves Palestine and she goes all the way to Makkah Mukarramah. She's stationed over there. She started living in a new place, only so that her son, as he would grow up, he will have the right atmosphere, so she can get him into the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and get him to do some service for the deen of Allah in future. Mothers, and see what mothers are giving to the ummah. And Muhammad bin Idris himself explains, he says, as I started growing up, forget about having money to buy some pen and paper for myself. We did not even have food at home, and we always was just making survival through a few dates or having little milk. This is what we were surviving. Most of the time we are just starving at our home. For a couple of days we won't have nothing to eat, nothing to drink except water. My mother always told me that, son, don't inform about it to anyone. Don't let any of your colleagues of the class know about it, because they may come and give us, and this will become like begging. And I'm not a woman that would beg people for anything. He says, throughout my life as a student, I never had money to buy a pen. Who's saying this? A person then who later on was followed by all of these great scholars. She worked so hard on the education of her son that the same Muhammad bin Idris later on was known as Imam Shafi rahimahullah. This is Imam Shafi rahimahullah, who was orphan. The mother gifted this great gift to the ummah. Again, I would remind, we talked about Imam Malik and the gift that the mother offered to the ummah. Here you see another gift that was given to the ummah by a woman, by a mother. When we say what a mother can do, this is what mothers have done. This great gift that the ummah has, that we call Imam Shafi rahimahullah, with all the knowledge that we have of Imam Shafi rahimahullah. You cannot talk about fiqh without quoting Imam Shafi rahimahullah. All of this is going back to the mother of Imam Shafi, who offered so much sacrifice for the education of her son. Surprisingly, you look at the biographies of many of these great scholars of Islam, you find similar situations there, that most of them were raised in that form for the education of Islam, lives devoted for the sake of deen. It was through the efforts of their mothers. Imam Bukhari, Imam Ghazali, Imam Nawawi, and here we have the example of Imam Shafi rahimahullah. Orphans. Mothers are washing dishes in people's home so that she would be able to teach her children some deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Children are crying when they see the situation of their mothers, that my mother has to do all of this work for me. And at the end of the day, all we get is few days. But mother says, son, my advice to you, common advice between all of these scholars, my advice to you, I don't want to see you working at all. I'll take care of that part. All I need from you, that go and learn the deen of Allah. Imam Shafi rahimahullah says, when I got to the age of memorizing Qur'an, my mother took me to a teacher and she could not offer him anything, no wages, no salary for the teacher to teach me the Qur'an. All she did was she went and told him that I'm a widow, I cannot afford anything. If you please would accept my son for teaching him the Qur'an. And out of kindness, the teacher accepted me in his class. But subhanallah, as he started learning, teacher realized that this is something not normal. This son, this child, his memory is such that when he is memorizing, he is complaining to his teacher that when I memorize one side, if I look at the other side, I memorize it before this one. So I have to keep a blank page on the other side of the book, so I won't even see it, because if I would see it, I may memorize that one before this one. At the age of 7, he was Hifz al-Qur'an, and at the age of 10, he had memorized, in addition to many ahadith, he had memorized the complete Mu'atta of Imam Malik rahimahullah. At the age of 10. At the age of 13, he had memorized all the ahadith that were available to the scholars in Makkah Mukarramah, and at the age of 13, his teachers asked him to start teaching a class because there is nothing more in Makkah that he can learn. At the age of 13, Imam Shafi rahimahullah is sitting by the Kaaba teaching people the Quran and the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And he himself says, by the age of 13, I knew the meaning of the whole Quran with the exception of 2 words. And when a person like him says with the exception of 2 words, doesn't mean he doesn't know the translation of it. The only confusion he has in his mind that what is the root word and how this word was established in the Arabic language for it to have this meaning. Because this is the beauty of the language, that every word has some backgrounds to it. And as it changes the forms, every new form will have some more and different meaning to it. And we keep on talking about that in our tafsir sessions. So, he had some questions about 2 words of Quran. Rest of the Quran, he knows every detail about each and every word of the Quran. This is by the age of 13. Now he decided, after teaching there for 3 years, he decided that he would like to learn more. And of course, as he memorized the Muwatta of Imam Malik, he was very impressed by the knowledge of Imam Malik rahimahullah and how he derives masail from the hadith, as he has written that also in his Muwatta. So he asked the permission from his mother to go to Medina Munawwara and spend some time with Imam Malik rahimahullah and other scholars in Medina Munawwara, so he would be able to memorize the hadith from the scholars of Medina also. And accordingly, at the age of 16, Imam Shafi rahimahullah, he went to Medina Munawwara. Before he left for Medina, he thought that Imam Malik is one of the great scholars. He has a large class. He has a lot of people around him. I may not have a chance to sit in his class. So he goes to the governor of Makkah, who was already familiar with Imam Shafi'i's abilities, and asked him to give him a letter of recommendation to the governor of Medina and to Imam Malik rahimahullah. He got these 2 letters and went to Medina Munawwara. After presenting these letters in Medina Munawwara, he saw some very amazing situations. He had to face something that he never expected because of these letters. What was that? Inshallah, we'll talk about it in our next sessions as he arrives in Medina Munawwara and goes into the class of Imam Malik rahimahullah. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين والمسلمات وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. سبح اسم ربك الأعلى الذي خلق فسوى والذي قدر فهدى والذي أخرج المرعى فجعله غثاء أحوى سنقرئك فلا تنسى إلا ما شاء الله إنه يعلم الجهر وما يخفى ونيسرك لليسرى فذكر إن نفعت الذكرى سيذكر من يخشى ويتجنبها الأشقى الذي يصلى النار الكبرى ثم لا يموت فيها ولا يحيا قد أفلح من تزكى وذكر اسم ربه فصلى بل تؤثرون الحياة الدنيا والآخرة خير وأبقى إن هذا لفي الصحف الأولى صحف إبراهيم وموسى.